How can we create more consistency to our release? So the butt end of the golf club is in front of the golf ball as this releases. So you're keeping the low point in front of the golf ball. This is something to be very aware of when you're practicing. The 30, 40, 50, 60 yard pitch shots are perfect because it's at a tempo where you have some level of awareness and feel for what you're doing. And then you can start to speed it up a little bit. But as you speed it up, does the body go to its normal source for power? Is the old sequencing starting to re-emerge and suddenly you get that release? If we release this club early, it's already starting to go left. Now you've got a face that's starting to rotate to the left on a path that's going to the left. So what does the body have to do to hit it straight? It's got to stop it. It's got to somehow resist it. And we've also got a situation where we're running out of space because it's going left now. At a moment when the club should be swinging freely out and the arms are extending and we're transferring all that speed to the club, we've actually got the opposite taking place. We've actually got the golf club going left, so now we've actually got the wrist and the elbow going into flexion. So we finish with this restricted follow through. It's like a sawn off finish, almost like a punch shot, but our intention was to play a full shot. But we keep finishing with this kind of short finish, and why is that happening? Well, it's all down to the timing of that release and the understanding of that release pattern. Now, if we think about the handle leading, wherever this goes, this follows. So if we want to swing out to the right, we've got to have the sensation of that handle going to the right. And then now we've got a chance that this is going to follow in that direction. And with the butt end of the golf club traveling and in front of the golf ball, as we're releasing the golf club, we recognize it's over here. We've got a downward angle of attack. We've got the leading edge striking the ground. And we've also got, more importantly, a natural draw arc, because the further the low point ahead of the ball is, the more outward the club's travelling. We've got a vertical motion, we've got a horizontal motion, and we've got a rotation about the shaft that way. And it's this one that's really important, because if we can pronate and supinate and sense that, even though that appears to be de-lofting the club, which it is, that's a good thing, we want the club to be de-lofted. It's bringing the sweet spot towards the golf ball, but it's closing the face. Okay, so that face is seriously closed now to where I intend. But if I just shift the handle that way, suddenly now we've got a leading edge that's square, sweet spot that's at the ball, de-lofted, and we've got the butt end forward of the ball. We've got a low point that's in front of the golf ball. We've got this club face rotating and closing, and it's very, very controlled. It's a very stable, and the golfing community love that word, stable. It's in golfing folklore, in their dictionary, stable club face. It just means the rate of closure of the face isn't quite as extreme. The way you move the body and sense the golf club in space is going to create that release pattern that you recognise, that strike and that ball flight. So conversely, in respect of pitching, the full swing has a lot more of a linear component going on because we've got more momentum, we're trying to create more speed. We need that linear momentum. And this linear momentum is going to help create the angular, i.e. the wrist cock, the snapping of the wrist. It's almost like two swishes in very different places. We've got a swish taking place over here, and then it swishes over here. So it's almost like the swish is taking place on either side of the body. It's not here. The best place to do this is with half swings at a slower speed and starting to feel the timing of these swishes, so we can start to appreciate this linear momentum transferring more to angular. Look at the handle, it's moving more linear and then angular. This is important for the full swing because we need more swing, we need more power. So how we're going to do it in a way that we recognise where we are to control that release, to release the club when we want to. So we've got this linear motion, it's going then angular, and we're using the body weight to do it. So if we start with the feet together, we're going to take two half steps, which is going to make a full step, and we're going to make a little jump or a skip, if you like. So there's a little bit of vertical here, a little bit of momentum, a bit of an unload, a push and an unload from the ground. Start with the club over here, half a step, and then let the club travel this way first. And then it goes angular. Then it starts to rotate. Here, not here. To help us get the feel of the body movement for the step, swing exercise, we can use the golf club and hold it between the thumbs and the forefingers, like karate chop position, okay? Shoulder width apart, elbows bent 90 degrees, and bend forward with the torso. What we're doing is we're actually separating the segments, so the lower body goes first, then the upper body, and you're going to get a sense for that sequencing, which ultimately is going to fire that upper chain. It's going to be the half step exercise again, but then we rotate. So we go half step, rotate, half step, then rotate. You don't have to do a full turn, do it within your comfortable ranges, as long as we're separating the step and the rotation. So we've got the torso rotating after the step, not with the step. Step, rotate, step, rotate. And then take the club in the hands and do the same thing now, letting the club swing as we did before. So as soon as we've skipped this way, we're going to skip again to the target. And this hasn't gone angular yet. This is moving with me. In fact, if you look at the elbow and the wrist and the shoulder movement, we're actually allowing the golf club to travel towards the body. This gap's getting smaller. It's not maintaining its distance. We're not maintaining this swing radius, another part of the golfing dictionary. We're not maintaining that radius. This radius, if you like, the distance between you and that connection with the club, is changing. It's wide, narrow, and then as we start to rotate, it goes wide again. Okay, and this is an efficient transfer of momentum through the body. Let this behave more fluidly. We're not trying to control this. We're letting it go, and this is letting go. This is allowing the golf club to react to you and your body movement, and it can feel quite strange at first because it can feel out of control, but actually it's just as natural as throwing a ball. You're just letting the body move, freedom of motion. So the timing of the release is so important to get the maximum leverage. So we've got to make the swish later. And how do we get the club traveling that way? Let's sense the butt end of the golf club traveling out, and then this is going to follow, and now you've got a path that's outward. So now you've got a low point in front of the ball, a club travelling out, it's rotating in a controlled manner that'll be much easier to recognise, and the body's moving in a way that is natural. It's like throwing a ball. If you throw a ball, you shift and look at the arm, it's still travelling. The elbow's still leading the hand, and then it's going to go so late. If this goes early, it not only affects the trajectory and the direction of the release, the speed's gone. So I could be shifting, but if this goes at the same time, I can't get this momentum that I'm creating with the body through to the end of the chain. This is you recognising the butt end travelling, the club head trailing, but what's preceding that is that movement of the body, because this club's still going back as I'm going forward. It's the slingshot, boom, and then we go. But there's a big movement there to create that. There's got to be a sense of this linear, and then you can let the slingshot go. So we can do some little swings, step, swing, step, swing. And we can do it hitting the ground. We can do it and get a sense, but where the strike is, here, the low point, it's in front of the golf ball. So we can do this exercise with the ball. We start with the feet together, just half a swing, letting the club flail back and flail through. It's only going to be half a swing because we're changing direction so early, and just letting yourself step first on the way through. And we're getting the strike just at the right point. We're getting the depth of divot, which is telling us the low points after the ball. The divot's going like this slightly, so the club's on the descent. We've got a little draw shape because with the low point so far forward, we've got a little bit more of an in-to-out path because the path is changing as you strike the golf ball. So this is important, having the low point forward, and the depth of divot's going to give you an indication there because you're on the descent. So now we can do it in a slightly fuller swing, normal stance, just nice and easy, maybe 3/4, easy tempo, and get a sense of that weight transfer from side to side. Just a 3/4 swing, getting a sense of that contact with the golf ball. I can sense that kind of movement, the ballpark of where the club's coming from and going to. So now I'm going to make a practice swing with purpose. I've actually got intention behind my practice swing. I'm actually making a practice swing with the intention of a release because I recognise where the club's moving, how it's moving, the timing of it, and how my body's moving. So I can repeat that and practice it and refine it. Same shot again, little drill draw, very similar divot. This is productive practice. I've got a purpose to how I'm moving with an intention of a shot, recognising how I'm moving. I've got an exercise to help me develop that awareness, enrich that awareness, and a process to help me refine that. So now when I go to the driving range or on the practice ground, and I'd suggest going on grass if possible to get that feedback from the ground. If we can get on the grass, that's great. You're getting feedback from the divots. It's giving you that sense of impact with the ball, the turf, and that's realistic because that's what it's going to be like on the golf course. Then once you start to get used to this release pattern, you can start to vary it. Play some draws, play some fades. Obviously the fade handle's going to be going left in relation to where the ball and the target are. So now we can start to get a sense of the direction this is travelling. So that linear motion is going to be in a very different direction than the draw. And all generated by recognising how you're moving and using these exercises to repeat that, refine it, and ultimately get that consistency with that ball flight and get those scores down.